Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being early risers. I know that it's very difficult on a early Saturday morning to come to a 9 o'clock event, but thank you definitely for coming. My name is Douglas Arellanes. I am one of the founders of Sourcefabric, and to my immediate left, I have Roman Romero, who is our CTO at Sourcefabric, and then my partner, co-founder, Sava Tatic, who is the leader of the Superdesk project. And we're here to unveil an initiative that we've been working on very quietly for the past 4 years, actually more. It's a project called Superdesk, and I think that it has a lot of potential to really help a lot of newsrooms worldwide. A little bit about Sourcefabric. We are a can we close? Yeah. Sourcefabric is a nonprofit institute. We're headquartered in the Czech Republic, in Prague. I am an American. I've been living there for 23 years, and Sava is Serbian. He's been living there for 19 years. Holman is from Colombia, and so Prague was obviously the right place for all of us to be. But we are registered in the Czech Republic with offices in Berlin, Toronto, in Belgrade, and in Cluj, Romania. Sourcefabric is unique in the world of media support organizations because our mission is to focus solely on technology and in making technology tools for media organizations. We have a team of 70 people, and about 2/3 of those are developers. This is pretty much, I think this is most of the team. This is from our staff retreat earlier this year. Sourcefabric has a number of different projects worldwide, everything from Basel to Bamako. One of the things that we say is that a newsroom is a newsroom wherever you go. That really the functions of a newsroom in a place like Basel are going to be pretty much the same as the functions of a newsroom in Bamako. And our motto in many ways, and I think it's a very apt one, is to find a way or make one. And if you guys remember what that's from, that's Hannibal's instructions to the generals that wanted to cross the Alps. So our mission is to provide media organizations with software, expertise, and support to produce quality journalism online, on print, and on air. And we do this in a lot of different ways. We have right now 5 software development projects that we have built. One of them is a web CMS. One of them is a tool for making collaborative ebooks. Another one is a tool for making radio stations in the cloud. But the biggest one, and actually one of them is a live blog software as well. Some of the organizations that we work with, Tageswoche in Basel, Zeit Online in Berlin, Books on Demand, Brazil 247, Ruhrnachrichten in Mozambique, a newspaper called A Verdade, El Faro in El Salvador, the national news agencies in Finland and Australia, STT Lehtikuva, and the Australian Associated Press. And actually we'll get back to the Australian Associated Press for this talk because it's particularly relevant. But what we do is we develop software that is very specialized for news organizations. So the tools that we have are made specifically from the ground up by journalists, for journalists. One of the things that I wanted to start off with is an important concept, and it's something that I think that has come up several times in various discussions here at the IJF. And that is that in many ways, organizations are currently being very limited by their CMSs. Jackie Mayer I think it was yesterday, the day before, was saying that you cannot be expected to produce really quality journalism these days if you're limited by an antiquated system. And in many ways, the inflexibility of the CMS has been one of the real blocks to further development. Let's go back, though, because we need to define what it is when we say newsroom. This is a newsroom. This is a newsroom from 100 years ago. This is a newsroom in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States. And a newsroom is a very unique place. I mean, if you guys are all journalists, or I assume you're journalists, and a newsroom is partially social. It's partially making content and authoring. It's partially collaborative. And it's also a place where you have a stored body of knowledge. And it's a very unique institution. And these newsrooms look very different, but the functions are the same, whether they're 100 years ago or even today. This is Mainichi in Tokyo. And partially what happens in newsrooms is social. And when we started looking at how to better create tools for newsrooms, we took this into account. This is another newsroom. This is actually a newsroom that has been organized around the concept of the Superdesk. In a lot of newsrooms these days, you will see this kind of architecture where you have a hub at the center of the newsroom. That's the one table where all of the different desk editors get together to coordinate the coverage that they have. This concept of a superdesk was something pioneered by a guy by the name of David Brewer. And it's, I think, a very apt description of how things are being done these days. In yesterday's talk, Aaron Pilhofer was talking about the need for journalists to work together in teams. Again, this is a concept that we have really taken into account, and that is really the way to produce news today. Now, the thing is that the newsroom is this type of social institution. It's arranged in a spatial place, spatial way. But this is the kind of tool that we have. It's a CMS where they talk about content, and the content somehow it only exists for journalists in a way that you have a form. It looks like you're filling out taxes. Here's another CMS. This is Polopoly, right? And these types of things are really not taking into account the way that journalists actually work. Here's WordPress. And in this way, these are fine if you're one person working in isolation. But again, a newsroom is not a CMS, and a CMS is not a newsroom. And so what we've started to do then is to work on a methodology and an architecture to create the open source code base for journalism. So with that in mind, what is it that we're trying to do with Superdesk? Well, the first thing is ingest and curation. So many news organizations, most organizations, will have some kind of a wire feed, or they will have various types of news feeds bringing in content. Also, images are being ingested and curated. The other area is planning and coordinating. How do we put our resources? Where do we put the reporters today? This type of thing. News authoring and editing. How are we writing our stories, and how are they getting edited? And the final area, publishing and distribution. I mean, everybody's talking about mobile, everybody's talking about digital first and all of these things, but is the architecture that we've got sufficient to be able to publish to multiple channels? And when we say publish to multiple channels, we don't mean to shovel the content from place to place, but rather to produce content that can be reused as building blocks for this type of thing. So with that, I want to hand over to my partner, Sava Tatic, who has been leading the Superdesk development effort, because he'll be able to tell us more about actually what it is that we're talking about with Superdesk.
Okay. Hi. So Superdesk is an idea that we started working on conceptually many years ago, and we've been implementing it for a while now. And the idea was to create a modern system from the ground up that would have no legacy in the traditional media whatsoever. And it would be divorced from any it wouldn't have any limitations that are introduced by but traditional platforms, let's say print or broadcast. Those are the basic newsroom systems that exist today, are either, roughly said, it could be either come from broadcast or from print. And print has been foisted. Every single vendor today tells you that their system is multi-platform, that it does this and that and the other. But there are also some wonderful open source projects, including ours, called Newscoop, that do great stuff on the web and can be massaged into doing this, that, and the other. But with Superdesk, we wanted to make something that is really not bound by any platform, that allows you to author for multiple platforms at once. And, but not, as Doug said, it doesn't make you do shovelware for everything. You can have production desks to further refine and produce the stuff that you have produced before, the way you used to work. The whole point is that a system such as Superdesk should take care of the bread and butter operations that media do. So it should make you do your work with maximum efficiency and minimum tedium. It should remove the minimize the human error, and essentially all the tedious tasks that people are doing these days in newsrooms to dance around the current solutions that they have, because some of them were not built for what people are doing these days. So now we're in 2015, and there are new platforms, new devices coming up, and you still are trying to sort of, half the time the innovation goes around working around your system, making it do what the new platforms demand. So we said, okay, let's start from the ground up and throw out everything that we had. I mean, ground up meaning we're building on very solid, and Holman Romero will tell you more what Superdesk is built on. We're building a very solid open source, extremely developed projects such as Elasticsearch and MongoDB, etc., etc. So it's not ground up in the sense that we are writing every single line of code there. We are just writing the system from the ground up conceptually. So it is the most modern thing at the moment because nobody else has been building it, you know. And it is open source, which is very important as well, because this is one big point we want to press to people, is that you have the alternative: buy commercial or build your own. That's been happening over the past decades. And some people can afford to build their own, like Agence France Presse, for example. They've been building it for a long time. I think they're almost finished, I think, and the cost is, you should ask them. Yeah, but there are also the commercial systems with which people are familiar, and which have their own traps, not besides the cost. I mean, open source software is also, it's free, and there are no licenses, but the ownership cost, of course. Software doesn't grow on trees, so there is some money outlay there, and people have to be trained. But What we're trying to do is we are inviting the media organizations and media projects to come and this is the particular purpose of this presentation, to could join the project and shape Superdesk so it suits their own needs. So the Australian Associated Press was brave enough to come to us and say, okay, let's build this thing together. They're a news agency, and there are not too many news agencies globally speaking. The market is quite small, and no particular vendor is taking care of them. There was a Tom here who used to sell software for them, but that business has folded. I mean, the market is kind of small. So anyway, so the whole idea is you come, you join Sourcefabric. We are the hub with the custodian of this open source code. We are a non-profit institute based in Prague. And our sole purpose is to produce quality code, open source code, and perpetuate that, and have this technological backbone for journalism from 2015 and beyond. This is who we are. This is what we want to do. And we want to be this catalyst and the curator of this code. So Doug has already gone to the proper one. So Superdesk is, as Doug said, it's an end-to-end publishing system from the ingestion from the sources to the different outputs. And currently, at this point, we're focusing together with AAP because they are investing money and time in their own developers. They have a team of 5 people working on it with us. So we almost have a 24-hour development cycle in Europe and Australia. It's kind of at times overwhelming, but you wake up and you see all these notifications that they've done overnight. And similarly, it is for them. So currently, we're focusing on the news agency case, which is, if you will, they're the precursors of the news agencies, because they are multi-platform, because they're business to business. Their content has no beautiful shape. It's something that other people use to push through. So with them, we're working on, we're making sure that the system can cope with extreme loads of content being produced and channeled through at the very high speed. Like they're currently working, for example, on a model of pushing something within 15 minutes max, and then updating that and all that as you go in certain cycles. So in a way, it's challenging us that way. Holman will tell you more where we're going, but let's show you, in the words of an Australian, we didn't want to risk the Wi-Fi connection here, so we asked our colleague from AAP, Andrew Lasky, to make us a screencast with his beautiful Australian accent. So we'll show you a little bit of Superdesk. There's much more of it, and we thought rather than chasing around Superdesk, we'd be very happy to demo Superdesk to anybody here in action. This is not fake Potemkin kind of thing. So can you please...
Everyone, welcome to Superdesk. For today's demo, we're going to log in as an administrator, set up a new user, and assign that user to a desk so they can start submitting copy. So first up, if we log in as admin, you'll see when we log in that we're taken to the user workspace. This is an area of Superdesk where each user is able to customize content widgets, other tools like world clocks, or in this case for an administrator, an ingest stats widget so they can monitor different parts of the system. These are completely customizable for users. They can remove things or they can rearrange them, add to them as they wish. And it's just really an area where people can customize them and use it for whatever purpose they see fit. But we're going to create a new user. So let's go across to the admin menu here. You can see most of the major areas of Superdesk represented here. We're going to go to users, and we can browse all of the users currently registered in the system. We have 230 users. And what we're going to do today is create a new one. And to do that, I'm just going to click on the add button up the top, obviously. Enter in the details for the user. So I'm going to put in my details, and we're going to enter in some details. It's telling me that that username is already in use. So let's change it. That's fine. I already have a user in the system, so I'm going to have to use a variation of my email address to verify this user. I can create a role for the user, so let's make them a reporter. Enter in other details like phone number. So we'll hit save on that. You'll see up the top here that all pending users are collected under the recently added section here. While we're here, we can go to other user profiles. We can reset passwords, change roles or default desk allocations. We can deactivate the user. I think we can even update their user profiles photos if we wish. But we just really want to authenticate this new user that we've created that's still pending. So I'm just going to jump across to my email. And each user, once they're registered with the system, will be sent a password token. Once they enter in a new password and verify it, that's all good to go. You can jump back into Superdesk, do a quick refresh. We can see that my new reporter that I've created here is now ready to go. The only thing they're missing, of course, is a desk allocation. You can see here that they don't have any desks assigned to them. The permissions for Superdesk are based on desk membership, so all users are able to read content in the system, but in order to edit content, the user has to be a member of the desk the content is currently situated on for them to be able to edit it. So if we go to our settings menu here, we can open desk management, and we can see a list of all of the desks that are currently in Superdesk. We can add new desks if we wish, but at the moment we're really just looking at getting our new user assigned to a desk. So we're going to find the finance desk, we're going to edit its details, we can update the description or the name here if we wish, or the spike expiry. If we wanted to add any new stages, say if we were the editor of the finance desk, we could add workflow stages here, which enable people to organize content and work on the desk. But we're really just interested in adding our user. So we're going to just do a quick search, and because the username had city in the title, we can pick it up here. So if you have a look down the bottom here, you can see my new user is added to the desk. If I wanted, I could remove other users at the same time, but we're not going to do that. So we'll just close that up. One of the other useful features here from the Superdesk menu is the master desk view. What this does is give us an overall view of content within the Superdesk system. So you can see all content across all desks as it's pulled in. So we can scroll across and we can see the finance desk here with content counts on each of the stages. We can also toggle users, and so we're then able to see all the users on each of the desks and their roles, so you can easily spot any holes or gaps you might need to fill. So Sydney might need a bureau chief, Perth as well, broadcast might need a sub. So that's another thing that another useful site for the administrator to use in order to make sure that there is enough people across each of the desks to carry out their work. We're going to log out now as the admin, and we'll log back in as our new user. Okay, so here we are. we're logged in as our new user. Our dashboard's empty. It's the first time we've logged in. So once we've got some time, we might add some new widgets to that, a world clock, content widgets, that sort of thing, but we'll just leave that for the moment. You'll see up here that we have the finance desk selected. We've been assigned to that desk. The only other workspace we have is our personal workspace. Users with multiple desk membership will have more options under this menu. So if I was also a member of the sports desk, I would be able to toggle my view between finance and sport. If I go to the content, I'm then able to browse all content across the finance desk. So here we have all of the finance desk content. It's organized via grid view at the moment. This is great for multimedia and image and video content. We're going to switch to the list view, which is easier to use for organizing text. We can browse all of the content here. We have our preview panel on the side. We can use the arrow keys to browse and view all of the content on the desk. We can change stages to see content in specific stages on the desk. Nothing in the revised stage, nothing spiked. We can just view any content. What we want to do is we're going to go back to our personal space. We're going to create a new article. We're going to submit it to the finance desk. So, as you can see here, a new user. We don't have any content in our personal space. This is where all of our drafts will be collected. We want to go up and add a plain text item. So that brings us to our edit view. We can see spaces for keywords, headline, abstract, body text. Over to the side here, you can see all of the metadata that we might want to associate with the story, categories, IPTC codes, urgency levels, editorial notes, and keywords, etc. If we wanted to, we can also search the system or the archives for other content. We can see here, because we're a member of the finance desk, we can get a sort of an insight into content that's currently on the finance desk. We might want to do a search for other content to use in authoring this story or to refer to. In the interest of not boring anyone watching me type, I've pre-prepared some copy earlier. So as a finance reporter, this is something that I want to submit to the finance desk. So give it a keyword. All of the fields here have their character counts. If we actually wanted to write over, we can show the over matter and the user will get some feedback that they can't submit it. So you can see here the headline's gone 2 characters over. It's showing the user that there are too many characters. So we can cut it down. We're happy with the body. We've now got a headline that fits the 64 characters. We'll save our changes, and then we can send it to the desk. So we've got a number of options here. We can send copy to desks that we're not a member of. However, once it's on that desk, we're not actually able to edit it or interact with it anymore. We're a member of the finance desk. The default stage is sending it to the finance producer. So we're going to leave it at that, and we're going to hit send. What we'll see now is we're taken back to the personal workspace, and I don't have that item anymore because obviously it's now on the finance desk. So we're going to go up and change our setting to desk selection to finance, and we'll see here that our newly submitted item is showing in the system, and we can preview it here. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's reporters logging in, filing copy, and submitting it. Hey everyone, welcome to Superdesk.
So this is like a basic run through. I'm sorry for the user bit. I mean, this is a multi-purpose video. This is a multi-purpose video. Sorry for the user tedium in the beginning, but just to show that, I mean, there's a lot of already built in terms of functionality. There's a whole very powerful permission system in it, and roles and desks. There's things there like macros. You can transform content you get from some place into another based on some rules and stuff. There's a lot of it which we're not going to demo, obviously. There is a second shorter video that just shows more about the authoring, but we'll skip it this time. We can show it later to you, but I mean, essentially you can edit things in parallel and so on and so forth. So the whole idea is that the work should be very simple for the person. What you see now is like a typical desk user experience, but we can further customize that based on whatever criteria. I mean, the things are very configurable in the system. This is just the basic setup now. So, Holman, you would like to tell us what does Superdesk do?
Yeah, where are we? So, hi. Yeah, I would like to remark, too close, like this. The fact that what you see here is created by journalists, right, in general. So we are programmers. I've been a programmer, open source programmer for like about 20 years. It's not that I started too young, it's only that I'm getting older. But so it's created by journalists, right? For journalists, and that's something that is clearly visible in the system. Like what you perceive from the system when you interact with it is totally different than when you work with a more traditional web content management system. So we've been working for the previous year in developing the core of the system. So the system is there. It does what you saw just now in the video, but it does like a lot more. And we are reaching a point where we will be releasing the first version of Superdesk. Today or yesterday, actually, we were releasing a new website, superdesk.org. We can show it briefly, quickly. Now, the idea is that we are here in Perugia, as Sava was saying before, to open up the project, to offer the project to the community, because we are totally convinced that it represents an enormous value for journalism. Superdesk shouldn't be seen as a content management system. Technically, you can consider Superdesk a platform. The architecture is fairly simple. It's a server full of Restful APIs, and is super flexible and extensible. So even if it doesn't fit precisely the needs of your newsroom, you can extend it. And so that's that. In terms of the roadmap and where we are going to, like we operate and we develop Superdesk like in very short iterations. So we know all that we are in a world that is changing very, very, very quickly, especially in terms of technology, and journalism is adapting to technology and to all the new platforms, devices that pop up every day. So we don't like to have long-term plans, because we like rather to focus on the short term. So these, what you see there, are features that are currently in development. So RESTful APIs, because we want the system to be very, very appealing for developers. So we know that nowadays, your newsrooms, you guys have most probably an IT team, right? So we want to reach that people, and we want to allow you to extend the system, to work with it in a very friendly way. to help us to extend the Superdesk ecosystem. So we are working on RESTful APIs, we are working on publishing and distribution of content, we are working on workspaces. There is already some very basic implementation, but we want to make it more powerful. We are working on content types, related items, that is actually not only related items, but it's more like a sort of little intelligence in the system that allow you to, let journalists or give journalists more context when they are creating content or when they are editing content. So based on the metadata of the current item that is open, then the system suggests other items that are in the archive, telling them, hey, this might be relevant, or this is somehow related to what you are writing or what you are looking for. So that kind of things, entity abstraction. So it's basically to consolidate not only a database of stories, but also a knowledge base, right? So if you should be able to trigger queries. The search capabilities that we have in Superdesk is built on top of Elasticsearch, and we have extend the functionality in many different ways. So you should be able to query and say, hey, I want to know like all the quotes that Barack Obama has said in the previous 3 years, right? And then you should get all those quotes, right? So that's different than having just a database of only stories, right? That gives you way more options in your newsroom. So yeah, handling of social media content, messaging, because that's one more, in my opinion, big difference compared to traditional web content management systems, and is that like usually in the system that you guys have in the newsrooms, the users log in and they are completely working alone in the system. So it's like this desktop kind of applications where you work alone, you do your job, and that's it. In Superdesk, we are trying to add more social components. Like it's clear that the social media services and networks, they have brought to us like a lot of different concepts and patterns that allow people to work in teams, right? So we are adding this, we are like getting the good practices from all these systems and putting them together. So you have comments in alongside the article, so you can create conversations along the article. You have user mentions, so you can ping a user very quickly and tell, hey, we need a picture here, and the user get a notification very quickly. That's especially very important for newsrooms that have people working remotely, for example. So not necessarily when you are in the same room and everyone is in the same room, it's probably much easier just to go to the desk of the person and ask for the picture, right? Yeah, the next slide. Well, and we have always like a long-term vision roadmap, but again, like we try to focus on the very short term, and these are items like forward planning probably should have been in the other slide, because that's something that is very important, and news agencies and newsrooms are requesting all the time. So we have already an initial implementation of forward planning, and there will be other like more specialized applications. That's why Superdesk is more like a platform rather than a content management system, because it allows you to build on top of it a specialized application. So we already have a live blogging tool that is called LiveBlog. Not a fancy name, but just very self-descriptive, and it does the job that allows you to do live blogging very efficiently, and it's built on top of the same technology, which means that it's integrated with Superdesk. So if you have live bloggers and they are creating content and they grab tweets and they grab pictures from Instagram, all that will go to the same content repository that is accessible to your newsroom. So that allows newsroom to build like very powerful databases. So yeah, some numbers. Yeah, I mean, I think that these are more like technical details in general. We have 23 contributors so far, but we are asking you today to help us to grow that number to 300 100,000 or something like that. So if we come back, yeah, it would be great to turn that number over. So if we come back next year, it would be great to, tell you, okay, we have way more contributors and partners because, yeah, this is really, really important. Next one, maybe. Okay, so we are in GitHub, of course. We have a Superdesk organization. You can find all the open repository we have there. The code is there. So far, we haven't paid attention too much to on making the project appealing to the open source community, because it's not about only releasing the code and figure it out by yourself how that works and try to make it work for you. That's not an open source project, right? So what we are doing today is launching a website with documentation telling you, hey, okay, this is the tool, this is the code, but this is how it works, and this is how you can make it useful, right, for you, for your needs. So the website is there, it's superdesk.org, but please check it out. Tell your IT teams to check it out because it's very tailored for developers. But you can find there all sort of information, and as it is new, then please also give us feedback. If you find any problem or something, just let us know. We will fix it. So that's it. Yeah.
Saba, did you want to talk about what we're looking for?
Yeah, sure. So we are looking for media organizations who want to partner and actually invest their time and developers and conceptual thinking into Superdesk. So currently we have an emerging consortium of news agencies so we're taking care of that part of the media industry. But as everybody knows, it's a vast industry in its scope. So it depends, as Holman said, we don't make huge long-term plans. But for example, if there's a bunch of print media who also have a strong print presence, we could start focusing on that. It depends where the energy is, where the need is, and who wants to actually contribute. And obviously the developers to do that, and putting a good word out and spreading the word is also helping, because as both even our live blogging solution has not been advertised ever, but the word of mouth has spread it to some of the major German news media. We've been talking to big names, and we have clients such as Zeit. We had Neue Zürcher Zeitung as well in Switzerland and so on, without ever spending a penny on advertising. So, I mean, word of mouth goes a long way. So this is it. The time to join Superdesk is now. I mean, there's plenty. It's why we chose this. This is not, you cannot publish with Superdesk today. You will be able to publish with it in the summer if you're a news agency. You can live blog with Superdesk already. That's production ready. That's been around for 2 years already. The first version, we already have the second version. The third one is in the making. So there's stuff you can do today, and there's stuff you can do tomorrow. And actually, we want you to come and join us and tell us your ideas of how media should operate in 2015 and beyond. Let's say the next 5 years. We cannot see further than that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Saba. How about some questions? There's a lot of people in the back. Anybody have any questions or feedback about what we're doing?
I wanted to ask, is it based on any IPTC standards like UseML G2?
Yeah.
The organizations are using that now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can answer that question. Like, yeah, but it shouldn't be like misunderstood. So we decided some time ago to go with the NewsML G2 specifications, in the sense that if you read those specifications, okay, thanks. Yeah, if you read those specifications, you will see that everything on how to handle news and how to exchange news between, well, media outlets is in there. So we cannot pretend to reinvent the wheel, right? So it's a pretty solid concept. They cover absolutely everything. So what we decided to do is to adopt the concept. It's not so much on the technical side, like we stick to the format and we stick to the NewsML G2, but it's only the concept. So the way we store content in Superdesk is following that concept. So it's like everything is a single item that allows us easily to pack content together, to allow journalists or editors to build bundles of content for distribution. So yeah, it does. And also the other thing that we make use of from IPTC is something that is called NinJS, is news in JSON. So that's the language that our APIs speak. So all the data that is delivered by the API is in NinJS format, which is very well documented. It's super simple and is built for API. So yeah.
Other questions? Feedback? Actually, I did want to mention, though, just a quick poll of the room. How many of you are using WordPress? One? Okay, actually several. The model that we're using for Superdesk is very similar to the model how WordPress got to be so good so quickly, in that many organizations are contributing to the code base behind WordPress. And in this way as well, we expect that with more users adopting Superdesk as a platform, and because it's easy to actually add new functionality to it, then we will start to see the functionality grow. In this way as well, this is where we're really eager to get the software, just like with any other open source project. We want to get it out into people's hands. Yeah, you can download it today, and hopefully your IT teams will be able to start to work with it. But we're also actively developing. And so in this way, we want to be able to get something that is really a cost-effective way of actually producing this new content, but also technically it's really excellent. So, yeah.
We ran out of time.
Oh, we're out of time. Okay. Well, thanks, guys, for showing up. And check us out, superdesk.org. Thank you.